English Channel crossing has begun. So to get out of the sill, the marina, we needed to cross it around 4 in the morning. And now I'm out here beginning my solo passage across the English Channel. The breeze should build as the day goes on. I've turned the motor on just for the next mile, and then I'll throw the main up. Trip should be around somewhere between 10 to 14 hours, probably. And then the River Dart. Now the River Dart, which is where we're going, also has a nice strong current.
Here I am figurating the furling line to make sure it will run smoothly as I pull on the Genoa sheet to deploy both sails. I'm looking at the chart plotter for radar targets, AAS targets, and I'm also confirming my path, which is taking a shortcut inside one of the markers. Don't worry, the route I'm taking is well traversed by small yachts. I stood up to look at a small ship that was heading into Guernsey. No, she didn't surprise me. I had seen her for a long time on AAS. The breeze is still slightly affected by the island, and so I'm easing the main sheet. Another check of the chart plotter keeps me safe. I did a 4-day passage on a yacht where the chart plotter was downstairs. That was not convenient. Another boat's also out enjoying the fog and light air of the early morning.
Scooting along now, it's like 16, 17 knots of breeze. And we're making mid-8s. Yeah, I'm thinking about reefing. Yeah, let's go look up forward and just see what it looks like.
The boat is so nicely powered up, and she knows where she's going, which I mean, the waves are not changing her direction. She's going to Dartmouth. 82 meters of sailcloth is pushing this boat to weather. We have 10 degrees of heel and about 3 degrees of weather helm. The boat is quite happy. We are conquering the rum line.
How is it out here being me? Well, a little spooky. Kind of getting used to the feel of the boat. 17 knots and trundling along at mid-8s is kind of pretty cool. To make such great progress going upwind.
To avoid entering the traffic separation scheme, and to set up better for the current, I'm sailing a touch higher than rumline. As I traverse from the high side to the low side of the boat, one might think I am an old man, which is actually accurate, but what I'm trying to do is be very deliberate in my movements. One hand attaches to the location. You see, as I head back up, I'm grabbing the center hold, then I use the tiller, then the winch, and then eventually I get my butt in a comfortable spot. Falling over is something you want to avoid.
What's going on now? There is a horde of sailboats following me that charted just a bit later. Sun has come up and the rain has stopped. We're passing a boat called Dawn Treader. We're kind of doing low 6s now. We were doing mid-8, but the breeze has dropped to 11 knots. We have a TSS, which is kind of like a highway for ships, and I'm not allowed to pass through it unless my heading is perpendicular to the highway. I can just go a couple degrees higher and avoid the thing entirely. Now, that doesn't mean the ships won't be there. They'll be queuing up to come in that area, so I have to pay attention for them, but at least I can steer whatever course works best with the wind. And currently, there is a current that is sending me towards the TSS. So I'm going this way, and the current's pushing me this way. So I need to be a bit higher, but later in the day, that same current's gonna reappear and push me back the other way.
We're watching Dawn Treader bump over some of the waves. Now let's go look up Dawn Treader vessels. There's Dawn Treader, and she is sailing at 5.8 knots. Okay, we're sailing 7. How we avoid hitting other boats. This is the electronic way. And so these blue and black lines are basically where I'm headed, and the circle is where I'll be in a half hour. And I have it set the same way for other boats. So this boat is coming towards me, and I'm going towards her, and we will intersect. But in 30 minutes, I'll be all the way up here, and she'll just be reaching my line. So we're safe. We can go on to check on that by clicking on Platina, that's the name of the yacht. She is sailing, she's 10 meters, and she's going 4.2 knots, and she is going to have a CPA, closest point of approach, of 0.8 of a mile, 0.6. You can see it changes in about 20 minutes.
Might be a small drop in crew morale as the rain has been upgraded from fog just to damn rain. I mean, the book just says 7 knots. I'll give that to you most of the time. Maybe I'll give you 8. 7.5, but at least 7. Never worry about going below 6, even when the breeze hits lower numbers. TSS coming up. One vessel I have to keep an eye on.
We are about to enter into the TSS, or the superhighway for ships. So this is Stena Horizon, and she's coming, and we're just gonna go right behind her by about a half a mile. But who's just hanging out, doing nothing in the middle of the highway? A fishing boat. There's Stena Horizon. Hello, Stena. And then if we look out underneath the mainsail, we see another vessel, and another vessel, and another vessel. We are crossing the English Channel.
Owning a boat is not without effort. The maintenance, the storage, the insurance, the fear of something crazy happening to the boat when you're not around. But it's worth it as you and the boat work together as a team to cross the English Channel. I get it. Some of you, the English Channel is your backyard and you've crossed it in a laser. But for me, it's a milestone sail.
The breeze has dropped a bit.
Making our way through the TSS. You can see there are plenty of craft here. Car carriers, cargo carriers, oil tankers, and Cyclones.
And the reason I'm down below is I'm listening to channel 7.4 because a warship from the United Kingdom just announced they're going to be doing a live fire exercise, and the details would be on 74.
Why you get a high performance boat. It is not about when it's windy. This morning we had 17 knots and the boat was heeling, and you know, fair to say I was like, oh, calm it down. I was about to switch from the Genoa over to the Staysail. It's times like now where high performance boat's just great. It's blowing 12, 13 knots, sometimes 11, and I'm just chugging along at 7, 7.5. And it's not just the speed, but it's very comfortable because it's going fast enough that it kind of pushes the waves away. We have a true wind angle of 80 degrees, so we're not fully beating, but we are going into the sea. The sea's a meter. And it's just absolutely pleasurable. You could read a book. But that's why I love the boat for sailing in the lighter airs. Engine is completely off. You're making great time and great comfort. And then when it gets really windy, guess what? You can just reduce your sail area and be like a slow boat, but still going faster. That is one of the big vessels I was avoiding.
Little Ussy. Me and my friend, the car carrying vessel. Can you see him in the horizon? There he is, quite large. And then there's me, and then there's him. And that's our Ussy, our little moment together in the English Channel.
That I'm worried about next are coming from Dover.
We're now behind the pink area. That's the no-go zone, the separated between the two lanes. But just after that, there's this guy, Avocat, cargo ship, and she's turning and now has a collision course with us, so we have to worry about that. Then we've got this little guy who I think is a sailboat heading straight at us. So we've got 2 collision course boats, and we need to sort that out in the next 10 minutes. I like to wait a bit just to see how it develops.
Okay, just under the jib is a ship crossing us. I've had to bear off 10 degrees to make the crossing safe for my taste. And then there's another 2 ships that will cross after her, and I'll be ducking them as well. I think this course that I've adjusted to solves for both.
I can smell the fuel being burned from that ship right now. Isn't that horrible?
You might be surprised to know that this is taken from inside the boat. The JPK 39 has a forward-looking window, and boy does it give you a great view.
This is Celtic Forester. I got a little closer to her than I wanted to, so again, I just like to keep my margins nice and wide. And the breeze dropped, and so just to make sure I clear by a nice half mile.
Just turn the motor on for a few minutes to avoid a ship. And you can see right now that at 116 amps are going in from the alternator into the house batteries, which are 91% charged.
A shot of the leech of the Genoa shows how the battens are supporting the leech. On board, the discussion has begun. When do we put up the code 0 as the breeze has lightened?
Well,
Fears of the Dutch Armada passing me had inspired the hoist of the Code Zero. The Code is actually quite a heavy sail because inside of it there is a synthetic stay to promote furling. While at sea, if I anticipate using the Code Zero, I store it on deck, unlike the spinnaker, which easily can be retrieved from the utility room. Right now I'm attaching the tack of the sail to the sprit. After extending the pole manually, I then use the winch of the mast to really tighten the pole down. Okay, it's time to furl the Genoa. And in my mind, that's when the meter starts running because I will be running on only the mainsail and my speed will drop. Next year, I'm going to practice not doing it with a bare headsail, which means keeping up one sail while the other one's raising. This furl didn't go very well. I didn't head down enough, and also I was fairly slow in getting the sail to furl in. I've since improved some of the friction in the system. The Code Zero's 2-to-1 halyard is now being attached. As a distinguished gentleman, I'm now crawling to the mast winch to hoist the Code Zero. That's 120 feet of halyard that needs to be hoisted, while the Code Zero wishes its snake-like creature to wrap around the shrouds. Yep, the wild Code Zero managed to get wrapped around the leeward shroud. Sorry for the rough language. New technique is to hold the Code Zero with one hand while cranking with the other to avoid the repeat. This technique works, but is tiring. We will develop a new strategy in the off-season. Maybe also hit the gym. Final push, time to attach to the lazy sheet and get that last bit of halyard up. Clean up the Code Zero halyard and then it's time to rock. A 50-footer of the Dutch Armada has managed to pass us while we were going slowly. This is the kind of dumb stuff that happens when you're new to a boat, maybe exacerbated when you're alone and trying to race another boat. Somehow or another, I've managed to get the jib sheet and the Code Zero sheet in conflict. With a bowed head and a look of disgrace on his face, my foredeck went forward and sorted out the problem. He's a good guy, so I told him, we all make mistakes. Just don't ever make that one again. The boat is on her fastest point of sail, 100 degrees, true wind angle, with 14 knots of breeze. The boat's pounding away at 8 knots. What a comfort and joyous ride. The only bad news is it's only 6 miles before I get to Dartmouth. Look how the bow just floats above the small waves. My last boat also had a sprit, but it was made of aluminum and much shorter, and I felt the loads on it were controllable. This boat has a 2-meter sprit, but it's made of carbon fiber and engineered by pretty competent folks. Still, I like to check on it.
Look at that wake. Making a good 8 knots. And we're gonna get to Dartmouth soon, at this rate. Got the secret weapon out. The Code Zero.
A quick sail change was required, as the breeze started topping over 20 knots as we approached Dartmouth. Out came the Genoa again.
I'm about to notch one in the Jason record book, which is sailing across the English Channel solo. Well, let's not jinx ourselves. We still have 5 miles till the beginning of the Dart River and then 3 miles up to the mooring where we're going to be staying, or the marina.
I wanted to talk just a bit about solo sailing. And for me, the hard part isn't a lot of the sail handling. It's convenient to have another person. You need to figure out the tides, and there's nobody to check you. You need to figure out the depth. There's nobody to check you. You need to figure out the crossing situation. You get involved in something, nobody else is looking. And that just gets really tiring. But really satisfying too. and I have a lot of great conversations with seabirds. Yep, they're good listeners.
Well, we're almost at Dartmouth. Here's something I figured out that just shows how much of an American I am. Dartmouth is named for the mouth of the River Dart. Exmouth, mouth of the River Ex. Falmouth for the River Fow. I think you're picking it up. I had not. Here's the Tide app I use, checking that Dartmouth is going to be close to slack water when I arrive. The app is sold by Imre, but the chart plotter also has the data. The Dart River is a treasure of the south coast, but also full of lots of pleasure boaters. Beware. What a picturesque river and a great way to be greeted to the United Kingdom after my successful crossing of the English Channel. As the river narrowed and the number of mooring buoys increased, I was diligent to stay out of trouble. The material I read in advance warned me that chain ferries have precedence, and there's 2 centrally located chain ferries to avoid. The left bank contains most of the restaurants and shops, while the right bank has an old-fashioned steam railway. My destination was Naas-on-Dart Marina. A postscript before I end this video. To calculate your total current effect during your trip, what I do is add up the predicted current by hour by predicted location. For example, 7 miles into the trip, the current is indicating that it will be 1 knot to the east. An hour later, and now at 14 miles into the trip, it's only 0.6 of a knot to the east. If the trip is predicted to be 14 hours, then I will have 14 data points. Some of them plus, indicating east, some of them minus, indicating west. I sum up the entire column. For this trip, the result was 5 miles due west of Dartmouth. I then plot a point 5 miles due west of Dartmouth. I then compare 2 different courses, the course to Dartmouth and the course to this current adjusted Dartmouth 5 miles to the west. It was about 5 degrees difference. If I was a motorboat, pretty easy. Just head 5 degrees off course and you will arrive at Dartmouth with the current pushing you. But with sailboats, 5 degrees is just noise. You may want to be higher than the course because of an expected wind shift. Who knows? So it really didn't affect my trip. See you in the next episode where we explore the town of Dartmouth.